Today, I'm coming for one of the most hyped words in real estate: value add. Everyone loves saying it. Brokers love selling it. Gurus love teaching it. Buy a value add deal and print money. But here's the real talk: value add deals will beat your butt if you don't know what you're getting into. There's a dark side that no one talks about. And if you're not ready, it will break you financially and mentally. All right, let's start with contractor nightmares. The number one thing that kills your budget, well, contractors. They ghost you, they lie, they jack up prices halfway through, they do shoddy work that you have to redo. You think it's a 5K unit turn, boom, now it's 11K because the electrical is all messed up and the subfloor is rotted out. I have found that for the most part, dealing with contractors is not easy. We can all agree that it's challenging. And even more challenging is finding a contractor that you can trust that does good quality work. My partner Shane always talks about the three things we need to look for in a contractor: speed, quality, and price. You're never going to get all three. So you want to try to nail down two, and you're going to nail down two of those based on what is really important for you and your business plan. It's so challenging to find a contractor that is going to nail all three of them. We kind of feel like we have one now, but the problem is we're overworking this person and we're running into issues with speed at this point. It is what it is, guys. You got to be prepared for all this crap. And yeah, you start opening up walls and you start finding new issues. You start going to the city for permitting and you realize that you need permits for this, that, and the third, and you didn't think you needed a permit for anything. You think it's just paint and carpet. Wrong. Some cities are cracking down. Inspectors are brutal. Suddenly, you might need permits for stuff you didn't even touch. You might get red tagged. You might get delayed a few months. So you got to be prepared for all these issues when dealing with contractors and renovations, or the quote unquote value add. Now, alongside this, you're still paying debt. You're still trying to gain income. You're still liable for whatever expenses the property needs to maintain itself, like taxes, insurance, and any other expenses. Even if the units are vacant, you still have to pay the bills. Now, there's also tenant drama when you're doing value add. You're not just fixing units, you're fixing people problems. Entitled tenants. Maybe you have non-paying tenants. Maybe you have squatters. God, that would be a nightmare. Maybe you have professional tenants who know the eviction loopholes better than your property manager. You can't value add a building without surviving the tenant battlefield first. Let's say you go to a tenant and you're like, hey, we're going to renovate this unit, but we need to charge you X amount of money more. So they might say, nope, I'm not doing it, pound sand. What's the problem here now? Well, you can't do your value add. If that person is locked in for a 12-month lease, you cannot do your value add if they're not agreeing to it. Or let's say they do agree to it, but they don't agree to the price increase, then you do the work and you still got to wait however many 6, 8, 10 months before they get out of the property so that you could then raise the rent for the next tenant. Let's say you have month-to-month leases. Awesome. And now you're planning to do your value add strategy of renovating some of the units to get a higher rent. Here's what happens sometimes. You give the tenants a notice of non-renew, then you got to wait sometimes 45 days for them to actually get out, because let's say you non-renew at the end of the month, and they still have the rest of that subsequent month to actually get out. Okay, got it. Now you start renovating, and here's the issue. So now you have to renovate the unit, but only just enough to hit your business plan. If you want to get $1,200 in rent, you have to renovate to that standard. And if you don't, you're going to have problems renting it. And on the flip side, if you over renovate, you're not going to recoup the money that you spent. Your return on your investment can be low. You got to be careful. So you might want to sample a few before kicking all the residents out. Let's say you have 5 month-to-month leases. You might non-renew 2 and then renovate those 2 just to see where you're getting and how much to renovate, just so you don't over renovate and blow your CapEx budget without a good return on your investment. And then you can take a look at those 3 remaining month-to-month leases and say, hey guys, look, we'll paint your unit. If you want to bump up the rents $50, and maybe that's more worth it for you than renovating an entire unit. But you also have the strategy or the option of saying, hey, look, we just renovated this unit. Your lease is month to month. Do you want to take it for this price? And they might. A lot of times could just shift them over so you don't have to worry about getting rid of that tenant. Maybe they're a good paying tenant. And now you can kind of minimize your vacancy as well. So I like to do that. I like to stagger the renovations and then try to shift people over from one unit to the next, because then you're just promoting like a brand new unit for them. And a lot of times they like that. Here's the problem though. If you have that same example of 5 month to month leases and you're non-renewing two, the other three leases are going to catch wind of that and they might non-renew themselves. They might vacate themselves. They might break their lease. They might just leave. So you got to be careful. You might have a mass exodus depending on how many month to month leases you have. So yeah, I like to walk into a property with month to month leases. It provides me flexibility, but there's a cost and a risk to it as well. So you got to be careful. Now, also, blown timelines. Guys, every month of delay kills your returns. So if you're underwriting a 12-month stabilization period, in honesty, you might want to look at 18 to 24 months just to be careful, especially if you underestimate the scope of work or underestimate your team's ability to execute fast, or any challenges that might arise, like permitting, like issues with inspections, etc. And each property is different. For example, on this 6-unit property that we closed a month ago, we are turning as quick as possible and using the bank's money to request inspections and draws. So there's a strategy to that as well. You don't want to just request a draw when you have finished a few $1,000s in work. No, you want to request a draw when you've finished a substantial amount of work, because once you get that draw, you're going to be paying interest on that draw. And there's an inspection cost involved in that. So you got to be careful. And again, I think the main thing we need to focus on is that you don't over renovate, especially in today's market, because people are not willing to pay a premium today in most areas. Okay. Obviously, there are exceptions. You need to chill out if you're questioning me on that. But for the most part, you don't want to over renovate, because a few years from now, 3 to 5 years from now, you're going to have to renovate again. And you might need to renovate to a higher standard at that point to get the rents that you're looking for. It's also a strategy, right? You want to renovate 10% of the units prior to selling to show what can be done and to build a case study for a pro forma for that next buyer. So you're going to renovate to a higher degree when you are looking to sell to try to get the maximum rent to show value for that next buyer. All right, number 5, you need deep pockets or deep patience, and preferably both. If you don't have serious cash reserves, you better have patience reserves, as I like to say, because your value adds, these beautiful touted value adds, will test your sanity. If you're undercapitalized, game over. If you don't have enough money to do the renovations that are necessary, you will lose the deal. You could lose your investors' money, your money, maybe even your personal savings if the bank is coming after you if you're not cash flowing enough. Be careful. You don't want to be undercapitalized. I think it is just as crucial to project your CapEx budget 5 years from now as it is to project it when you're doing your closing. So you really, really got to nail this down. Guys, I can't emphasize this enough. You have to understand that, number one, you need a good CapEx budget, a real legit CapEx budget that you don't have to replenish or fill up as the years go by. I want you to raise that money and have that money up front. You're not going to get it in cash flow. Have that money up front, project what's going to happen 5 years from now, and ensure that you have significant or sufficient reserves to have the property operate properly. Am I saying don't do value add? Hell no. Do value add. I love it. That's how you force equity. That's how you build real wealth. But you need to come correct. You better underwrite the project like it's going to take twice as long and cost you twice as much. You better vet contractors. It could take years to find the right contractor. That's okay. You better pull permits. You better have reserves and expect drama. Guys, we lost $50,000 or so to a contractor who ran away. Thank God we got that money back, but it took a year or so of drama. These things happen. You got to be expecting something to happen. Now, value add isn't just adding granite countertops. It's adding grit, chaos management, leadership capital, and time to your skill set. If you're ready for that, you'll win. If you're not, the game will chew you up and spit you out. Y'all stay sharp, stay dangerous, stay strong, my small axers. Later. All right, and that's a wrap, Small Axe community. So I wanted to take a minute to say thank you so much for listening to the show. And if you liked it or got any value from it, it would really mean the world to me if you would share it with someone else and write a review. Remember, guys, keep sharpening those axes. Let's get out there. Let's crush it. Love you guys.